Hare Krishna. So a warm welcome to all of you who are watching this video. Today, what I'm trying to do is explain to you what are all the different constituents of the CDD, or the Congregational Development Department of Shri Radha Gopinath Temple. Uh, as part of this video, I will explain to you all the different constituents. You can see some of this in the background of where I'm sitting as well. And we'll go through piece by piece. And you can hear this in one go, or you can hear it part by part. But hopefully, it will give you more clarity about what are the different parts of the CDD. So the first piece or first question one could ask is, what is CDD? What is this Congregational Development Department? Well, we are a department of Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir ISKCON Chowpatty. This was created almost now about 6-7 years back. And the idea was that there were almost something like 70-75 programs connected to ISKCON Chowpatty, operating in different corners of Mumbai metropolitan region. And there was a need felt, by the programs which were, kind of disconnected with the temple, running independently, some struggling, some doing very well. So they were feeling a need that there's not much connection with the temple. There's not much, input coming from the temple, not much support coming from the temple. And on the other hand, the temple leadership also felt that it is important that there is some standardization, there are some policies, there is some support also which can be provided by the temple to ensure that the programs that are going on in different corners of Mumbai metropolitan region can appropriately can really do well, can bring in more and more devotees, nourish them, and support them in their Krishna consciousness throughout their life, throughout their entire lives. So with that thought process in mind, this core CDD was created. Originally, it was just called the CDD, but then subsequently it became CDD core when we created the CDD local. So I'll explain to you. The CDD core consists of, a few brahmacharis, very senior brahmacharis who have been preachers, and also a few grihastas who are also preachers who have been connected with preaching. So the core CDD is a team selected by the temple leadership. And then from there, different constituents like the local CDD and so on were created. So the core CDD is like the thought, it's like the think tank, which keeps thinking about what can be done to support the programs better, what can be done to establish the devotee care system before the counselor system, how can we establish it better. It's a think tank which keeps thinking about policies, guidelines, keeps giving ideas to the local CDDs, to the mentors, to the servant coordinators, and so on. We'll learn about these terms as we go along, so that they can do their service very nicely. So through this presentation, what we are going to try to explain to all of you is what are the different constituents of the local CDD, and constituents of the core CDD, of the whole CDD system, and how do they interact with each other, what are the interfaces, and how do they serve each other. So that's what we're going to discuss as the first part of this presentation. Hare Krishna. So the initial part, I want to just tell you that there are different components of the local CDD, right? I mean, sorry. Hare Krishna. So as part of this Congregational Development Department, there are different constituents, as I mentioned. So what are those constituents? As you can see on this slide here, there is the local CDD. So because the core CDD did not have the bandwidth or the number of people or even the reach to actually serve all the congregations that are spread out all over Mumbai, therefore, we first decided that, using a hub and spoke concept, let us create a local CDD in different zones across Mumbai. So we kind of divided Mumbai into 8 different zones. And for each zone, there was a local CDD team that was appointed. So I'll be talking about what is the role of the local CDD as we go along. Then another component, important component of the CDD was the devotee care aspect, which was where the mentors, the servant coordinators, the servant leaders came in. Within the program, there is the concept that there is a preacher, there is a management committee which manages the affairs of the program, and there's a cultivator who cultivates new devotees. So many moving parts. And as part of this presentation, we're going to try to explain to you what each of these parts are all about. So let me first tell you about the CDD core. What are the two primary purposes or primary focus areas of the CDD core? The first one is congregation development. So there are congregations, as I said, all over Mumbai. So one role that the CDD is supposed to play is to ensure that these congregations are developing as in those which are doing well continue to do well. They either grow in numbers, they grow in quantity, or they grow in quality, or more programs are being added. Okay, so where there are areas where big areas in Mumbai where there is no programs, the CDD will ideate along with the local CDD. Actually, the local CDD will ideate along with devotees in that zone to create new programs. And for the existing programs, we worry about how do we grow those programs and how do we add quality? How do we give a wonderful experience to the devotees who are joining those programs, who are attending those programs? So one part is congregational development. The second part, of what we do is related to devotee care. So I'll come to that. First, I'll talk about the congregational development and the what are the components of that. So the first component, as I said, is the local CDD, which is in each zone, 8 zones across Mumbai, starting from South Zone, West Zone, North Zone, Far North Zone, Central Zone, Thane Zone, Navi Mumbai Zone, and Northeast Zone. So there are 8 zones across Mumbai. And in each of these zones, there is a local CDD that is present there. Then from a devotee care perspective, there is the mentor system. So I'll talk about what are the components of the mentor system as well. So first, the local CDD, for the programs that are set up all across Mumbai, the ones which are going on, each program would have a preacher and a management committee connected with it. And then in those programs, there would be a person who has the service of cultivating all the newcomers who come. Whoever is a new devotee who is coming into the program, very often, as soon as they come in, we need someone to immediately notice that they have come and then very gently nurture them till they come to the point where they are willing to chant, they're willing to commit to the movement to some extent. So that's what a cultivator is. And then finally, hopefully the product of all the services that the local CDD, the preacher, management committee, and the cultivator is doing is that the person becomes a bhakta, becomes a devotee, becomes committed to the movement of Srila Prabhupada. Now, as far as the mentor system is concerned, the owner of the mentor system overall is the CDD, core CDD, but in specific zones, there is a servant leader. The servant leader will typically be a very senior counselor in that zone. So that person, and there are typically 2 or 3 servant leaders appointed in each zone. So those servant leaders, they have the service of ensuring that the mentor system is thriving and growing in their particular zone. So that's what I'll discuss again. As I said, each component will be discussing separately as we go along. Now, as far as the servant coordinators are concerned, these servant coordinators play a very critical role of ensuring that the whole system in the zone is working. So as I said, the ownership lies with the servant leader, but the servant leader will provide guidance, provide direction. But on the ground, ensuring that the meetings are happening, ensuring that things are coordinated well, meetings between the mentors and the servant leaders are happening. All this is coordinated by the servant coordinators. That's their service. And then, of course, there is the mentor. The mentor is the person who ensures that those devotees, those bhaktas who are coming through the program, coming through the congregational development activity, those bhaktas, they are actually taken care of and are taken through a systematic 2-year program where they are taken through Siddhant, Sadachar, and Sadhana, these three elements. A systematic training is given to them over a 2-year period. Now, it is very important that this mentor is actually connected with the congregation. We can't have the mentor standing alone. There's just a mentor and who demands that devotees be provided to him for him to serve them. No, the mentor should necessarily be connected to a particular congregation, and if they're connected there, they're serving in that congregation, then the mentees will be provided to them as part of a very natural process. So the mentors serve the mentees. Now, the important concept over here for us to understand is it is all a flow of services. So, for instance, the core CDD, our service is to serve the local CDD. The local CDD in turn has to serve the management committee and the preacher so that they can do their service well. So the management committee, preacher, and the cultivator in turn, they are trying to serve the devotees who attend the program. Now, as far as the mentor system is concerned, the CDD core is the overall owner of the mentor system across Mumbai, as I said. However, their service is to enable the servant leaders and servant coordinators with appropriate content, appropriate policies, so that they in turn can serve the mentors and the mentors in turn can serve the mentees. So it is a whole relationship of service. There's a reason why this whole slide has been put up in a horizontal way and not a vertical way. There is no hierarchy here. It is just meant to show that the whole system is a system which is connected and integrated with each other in a mood of service. So that gives you hopefully a good overview of the overall system, the core CDD, the local CDD, the mentor system, preachers, management committee, and all of them, how they work together. So this is the overall picture. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with all of you piece by piece, what does each component of the overall CDD, what are the services they are expected to perform, what are the things they are expected to do. This is what we will discuss now in the subsequent part of this presentation. So first, let's go through the local CDD. As I said, the local CDD is an extension of the core CDD in various regions. Now, there is a thought process that has gone into what the structure of the local CDD should be. So first is there should be one person who acts as a single point of contact, the SPOC, so to say, for the CDD core, who keeps interacting with the CDD core. Then there should be at least one person who does the service of a secretary, in the sense that whenever the local CDD meets, this secretary will decide the agenda, will then ensure that the meeting is going as per the agenda. During the meeting, whatever discussions are being done, the notes of those discussions are being taken by the secretary, and subsequently the minutes are circulated back to the other members of the local CDD. So there should be one secretary, one SPOC, as I said, one secretary. They could be the same person, could be different, and overall around 8 to 9 members. I say that 8 to 9 members because typically we're talking very large zones. Now, in this 8 to 9 members, we are saying there should be at least one brahmachari in the local CDD, at least one brahmachari who's connected with preaching in that zone, and at least one Mataji. So that is the structure of the local CDD. It's very important to understand that the local CDD is not acting like a political representative of a particular program. It is not that, for instance, if there is a program, if there are, let's say, 15 programs running in, let's say there are 8 programs running in Navi Mumbai zone, it is not that one member who is coming from the Airoli program represents only Airoli. No, That member from Airoli is the local CDD member who's responsible for all the programs in that zone. So each member is responsible for all programs in the zone. This is meant to be a team and not like elected members of individual programs who represent only interests of their programs. They have to take a broader view of the entire zone and ensure that whatever decisions are taken, whatever discussions are done, are taking the bigger picture into view and not just the interests of a particular interest or issues of a particular program. Okay, so as I said, 8 to 9 members, one single point of contact, one secretary, at least one brahmachari and one mataji. Now, this local CDD, the core CDD will be providing them with various, policies, guidelines, information, training content, and so on and so forth. So the local CDD is meant to ensure that they are the ones who actually implement these things in the specific zones. That is their service. So they should first obviously establish good working relationships with the management committees of the programs in their zone. So if there are 12 programs going on in zone, those CDD, local CDD members have to ensure that they have a good relationship. They should be part of those programs ideally, and they should be having a good relationship also with the various management committees in those programs. Also, they should be serving. I mean, as I said, the whole mood is not to control, not to monitor, it is to serve. So the local CDD should be working in such a way that they are serving the management committee, they're serving the preacher, to ensure that they are able to do both grow their congregation as well as mature their congregation. So this is very, very important. Other than this, the local CDD should be actively looking for opportunities to add as well as expand programs beyond the existing ones in areas that are mostly unexplored. Meaning what? So for instance, if we take the western zone or we take the central zone. So central zone has already got some 7, 8 programs running. Now, if the local CDD feels that there is very good potential, between, let's say there's a program happening in Kanjurmarg, there's a program happening in Mulund. Now, between Kanjurmarg and Mulund, there are like 3, 4 stations. So if the devotees in the local city believe that there's very good potential in maybe in one of the stations in between, they could then discuss among themselves that where will the preacher come from, who are the senior devotees who will support the growth of this congregation. They need to discuss with those people, find the preachers, look for a location, assist those devotees in starting the program. The whole works. So this is how the local CDD helps in establishing new programs. In an existing program, they can assist by giving them data. So there's a lot of work that's gone in terms of building a database of devotees, which already was there, but it's been enhanced. A database of programs, database of preachers. So using this data, they can assist the local programs in running their programs better. Other than this, they themselves, the local CDD, should be conducting regular programs amongst themselves, maybe either in person or on phone. I mean, we recommend meeting at least twice a month. The core CDD, for example, we meet every week. But if that's not practically possible, the local CDD could try to meet at least twice a month, to ensure that some progress is happening, some thinking is happening. If we don't meet at all, then no action will happen. But if we meet, if we keep interacting with each other, then there is a high likelihood that at least, because we are meeting, we'll start thinking, okay, now what can we do better? What can we do better? The core CDD has actually provided the local CDD with a whole set of things that they need to do. What can be done in the short term, what can be done in the medium term, what can be done in the long term, a whole set of, activities, strategy, everything has already been provided to local CDD. So they have to just keep on ensuring that they move the needle. They keep on moving these initiatives forward. Where there are gaps, they work on those gaps and plug those gaps like that. And finally, whatever actions have been decided, whatever initiatives are given by the local CDD, or are initiated by the local CDD, they need to keep on tracking that, are we making progress? Are we actually achieving the results that we started out for? So that's what the local CDD is supposed to do. They are like the extended arm of the core CDD in the specific zones, who are meant to serve the local programs, the management committees, the preachers, the cultivators, serve them so that they can serve their audience, which is the congregation, better and better over a period of time. So that's what the local CDD is all about. Now we come to the next one, which is the preacher. I mean, the preacher is one of the central constituents of the whole congregational development initiative, right? Obviously, the preacher is the person who nourishes congregations, who gives who gives philosophy, who gives practical insights, who shares his realizations with with the congregation. So this preacher, see, one of the reasons why this CTD was created, right, was that we were many of us were very fortunate to have received the personal association of His Holiness Radhanath Swami when he was preaching in Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir. And every program, every lecture that Radhanath Maharaj used to give, they were like an experience. The lecture was not just a lecture, it was an experience. The kirtan that Maharaj would do before and after the lecture was also not just a kirtan, it was an experience. And people, when they went home, they were like extremely nourished and inspired. And many of them went back and started programs in their vicinity because they felt that what I have received, let me give it to others as well. So the primary purpose of the preacher is to, obviously one cannot imitate the actions, of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, but definitely the preacher has the responsibility of trying to take the principles of as given by Srila Prabhupada and modeled by His Holiness Radhanath Swami for the congregational preaching that happened in ISKCON Chowpatty, model that behavior, take that mood, take that philosophy and share it with the congregation where they are preaching. So the preacher preaches the message of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada to congregations. He's supposed to preach as per the mood established in Radha Gopinath temple. See, it's one thing to be a good preacher who knows the philosophy, who's able to explain the philosophy in very practical terms. But if that philosophy is not accompanied by the right mood, what is the mood? The mood, there's a whole seminar that His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu has done on the mood of preaching in Radha Gopinath temple. There's a whole day seminar there, and that is also available on YouTube. So this whole mood, preacher, it is very important he or she understands that mood properly in its entirety, and then replicates, or at least attempts to replicate that mood in that congregation. Because it is not just the philosophy that wins the hearts of devotees. It is that mood, it is that sweet mood of humble and very loving care that a preacher brings to the program, and that is what transforms the heart of Vaishnavas, right? So the preacher should be preaching as per the mood. Obviously, the preacher nourishes the congregation through Krishna Katha, through Kirtan, and creates a very consistent and inspiring Krishna conscious experience, as I said, for the devotees and the visitors. So, if somebody, for instance, visits Radha Gopinath temple and gets a particular experience there on a Sunday feast, right? The kirtans, the lecture, the announcements. I mean, it could be, there are multiple elements, the prasadam, the arrangements, the seating arrangement. There's a whole lot of things that one could consider, right, as an experience. Now, the preacher, as the leader of the congregation, needs to, at least through his lectures and through his kirtans and through his behavior, tries to replicate that experience for the devotees. Also, there is a committee, there's a management committee, which we'll be speaking about very next, The management committee are those set of devotees who are actually managing the program on a day-to-day basis. Now, the preacher also plays a significant role of actually guiding and nourishing the management committee. So, ensuring that the management committee never loses sight of the mood, of the attitude, of the policies and guidelines of ISKCON Chowpatty. They never lose sight of that. The preacher has to ensure that the management committee is operating as per that mood, as per the guidelines given by Srila Prabhupada, as per the guidelines given by the CDD. The preacher has to ensure that the management committee is working within those guidelines. At the same time, the preacher is not meant to control the management committee. The preacher should give his guidance, and the management committee should run the program. So they manage the program, preacher just guides them, and if they're going off track, the preacher brings them back on track. There is no concept of control here at all. Also, the preacher, because the preacher is preaching to the program, to the congregation, maybe once a week, maybe once in 15 days, it is very difficult for a preacher to personally keep in touch with multiple devotees and see whether they are making progress, whether they're taking the next steps, whether they're committing further. Those who weren't chanting, have they started chanting? Those who are chanting, are they chanting 4 rounds? Are they starting to read Srila Prabhupada's books? It's very difficult, almost impossible for the preacher to do that. Therefore, the CDD created this concept of a cultivator. The cultivator was informally always a part of all programs, and that's how the programs grew. But the CDD then formally created this role of a cultivator and defined what the cultivator is supposed to do. So the preacher is the one who should be identifying, who will do this service of cultivating new devotees who are coming into the congregation, because otherwise it's like a pot that has holes. You keep pouring, the preacher keeps pouring his effort and his blood and sweat from the top, but if that pot is full of holes, everything leaks out from the bottom. So the cultivators are meant to ensure that whoever are coming into the program, there is a gentle follow-up happening, and they stay connected to the movement of Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, the cultivator also plays a very essential role, and it is the preacher's service to ensure that there are at least 2 or 3 cultivators, in his program, who play the service of whenever a new devotee comes, somebody is cultivating them. So this is what the preacher is supposed to do. So preacher, we have actually provided a whole training content for the cultivator as well. So whenever a new cultivator is created, the preacher can actually take them through that whole content so that they clearly understand what is expected from them, how they are supposed to cultivate, how to cultivate without being too pushy. You're not supposed to push. So all that, training content has been provided, and preacher should train the cultivator so that there is clarity. Over a period of time, if there are cultivators who are doing a very good service of cultivating devotees, they have those attributes that they can actually care for devotees and take care of them for a longer period. If the preacher sees that, then that preacher can recommend couple of cultivators to play the service of mentors, connected to that program as well. So that is the role of a preacher. Next, let us look at what is the role of the management committee. Now, the management committee is a very, very important, component of the overall, the program, right? So the management committee naturally should consist. These are the people who are managing the program on a day-to-day basis, are ensuring that everything runs smoothly. Ideally, the management committee should run the program in such a way that they are invisible, in one sense, that everything is running so smoothly. The sound system is set up, the altar, if there's an altar, the altar is set up, the seating arrangement is set up, the prasad is set up, everything, the fans, ACs, whatever, right? Everything is working so beautifully that practically no one should notice that anything is not working. Everything should work fine, right? So obviously, these need to be very, very committed devotees who are willing to put their time and effort to ensure that the program is running very, very smoothly. So they have to be, the management committee has to be consisting of devotees who are showing, some sort of exemplary behavior and commitment to ISKCON. And they should have an equal standing, in spiritual, spiritual perspectives, in the sense that we can't have in the management committee only the preacher, and then everyone else are very, very, junior devotees who will always just do what the preacher says and never have a mind of their own, because that generally leads to conflict over the medium term. So therefore, we recommend that they should be devotees in good standing spiritually, who are themselves, who have a mind, who understand the philosophy, who understand what's right and what's wrong. And plus, they should also, if not spiritually, for example, for a new program, it may happen that they're not, having a very equal standing in spiritual life, but at least from a social standing perspective, people who have some social standing, who have the courage to push back if something seems unfair, something seems wrong. So this is how a management committee should be, consisting of such members who have equal standing either spiritually or socially, and also having an equal say in decision making. Otherwise, what happens is, if only one person takes all the decisions, the others have to just comply. It is a classic case which leads to conflict over a period of time. So it is very important that, when we create a management committee, it should be consisting of such members. We are saying it should have a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 members. The management committee should not be consisting of a very large number of people, 3 to 5 people, and one of them would typically be the preacher as well. And they should be actively connected. So we don't want any remote management. Those who are actually part of the program, regularly attending the program, these are the people who we say should be part of the management committee. So, as I said, the main purpose of this committee is to ensure smooth running of the program. So, we spoke about this experience that the preacher has to create. Well, if the sound system is not working properly, you can't create an experience. If there's no proper comfortable seating for the audience, you can't create. It's difficult. So, they contribute to the satsang, they contribute to the preaching by enabling a very smooth, consistent, inspiring experience for the congregation. Uh, they also ensure that, there is adherence to the spiritual standards, Vaishnav etiquette. So even the management committee members, they need to have a certain standard of Vaishnava behavior, because they're representing the program, they're representing the temple. Therefore, a certain standard of Vaishnava behavior they have to see. They have to set up systems for follow up. So if new devotees are coming, cultivators have to be appointed. Those cultivators, management committee needs to check if the cultivators are doing their service or not. Because very often what happens, I mean, we have seen this, that cultivators are appointed, but then nobody follows up with them to ensure are they doing their service or not, right? And then again, same thing, devotees come and they leave, they come and they leave. So it's very important that the management committee is actually setting up these systems for follow-up, and is actually following up with the cultivators to ensure that the cultivation is happening. Other than this, they should also be planning for the growth of the congregation, both in terms of numbers as well as in terms of commitment. So for instance, if there is a lot of place, the program, there's a lot of place, it's being held in a big temple hall or something like that, there is place, but there are only maybe 20, 25 people coming for that program. The management committee should be discussing along with the preacher what can we do to increase the numbers. So for instance, certain programs, they do Harinam Sankirtan, maybe once in a month or once in 6 months, once in 2 to 3 months, they do Harinam Sankirtan. Some programs, they run a JOSD, Journey of Self-Discovery course, to bring in the new people. Some people do some youth programs, some people do drama, some people do parenting seminars. I mean, there's some people do children's programs. There are multiple things that a management committee could do to bring in, new devotees into their program. So this is their service to ensure that more and more devotees get connected to their program, to Krishna consciousness. And of course, for those who are coming for the program, they need to actively be thinking about, okay, what can we do now to serve these people better? Who are the older devotees? What can we do to make them more comfortable? What can we do to give them a good experience? For the children, what can we do? For the parents of the children, they need to be keeping on thinking about these things. That's the role. It's a very, very critical function. The management committee is not just about ensuring chairs are in place and sound system is working. It goes way beyond that. Of course, goes without saying that all the members of the management committee must have this mood of the servant of the servant of the servant, rather than a controlling body. So the idea is that how can I best serve others by connecting them to Krishna? If every member of the management committee thinks like this, that how can I best serve these devotees who are coming to this congregation program to connect them to Krishna? Everyone has that mood. It will be felt by the devotees coming to the program. But if there is a controlling mood, the devotees coming to the program can feel it. It's very clear. We have seen this across dozens of programs in Mumbai and outside Mumbai as well. That is, the management committee is managing, is trying to control rather than managing. Sorry, is controlling rather than managing. The congregation can feel it, right? So it's very important. They themselves should be conducting regular meetings. The management committee should meet at least, minimum once in 3 months, if possible, maybe once in 2 months. So take decisions, about what is happening with the program. Okay, there's a festival coming. How do we run that festival? What's the budgeting for that festival? Where will the funds come from? How will we spend those funds? What kind of Janmashtami will we hold? Various things, right? So the committee has to take those decisions. So they take those decisions, as I said, unanimously. It is everyone has a voice. Everyone should be allowed to express their voice freely. The moment you see that someone's voice is being squeezed and they're not allowed to express what they want to say, that means there's a problem in that management committee. Of course, they should maintain minutes of meeting for whatever discussions have happened, so that whatever actions have been agreed actually get executed in the program as they go forward. There are a few more points, like, for example, they should maintain good communication and relationship amongst the members. Because if the management committee members are fighting amongst themselves, it is, as I said, immediately visible to the congregation, and it sets a very poor example for the rest of the congregation, because what they are seeing, is a committee that is fighting, that is disagreeing with each other, openly discussing, political matters and so on and so forth. So whatever discussions have to happen in the back end. In your monthly or bi-monthly meetings, never bring them in front of the congregation, because it's going to hurt the congregation. As the congregation grows, okay, suppose you have now maybe 50, 100, 150 devotees attending the program, maybe a management committee of 5 will not be sufficient. Then you could maybe create subcommittees. Maybe there could be one committee which is Prasadam committee. There could be another committee which is for book distribution or BTG. There could be another committee which is for mini yatras. You could form small mini committees, subcommittees, and specific seva areas could be allocated to them. It is very important also that the management committee specifically and very consciously thinks about taking care of the children, special attention to the children who are either attending the program or their parents are attending the program, having some sort of a fun school, and also ensuring child protection. So if a child is coming for the program, their protection is our responsibility. We have to ensure that no one is able to, abuse them or in any way, trouble them. So this is a very important responsibility of the management committee to whichever children are coming, those children should be nourished and they should be taken care of as well. From time to time, whatever money is being received by the congregation. So, there has to be a proper system for what money is received. It should be transparently accounted for. And every member of the committee should be aware how much money came in, how much money was spent, on what purpose, and it is like unanimously agreed. Because this is one of the key reasons where a lot of conflict happens in congregations. It is important for us to understand, if we ignore this one thing, it is going to come back and hurt us. Okay. So very important that the management committee maintains proper financial accounts of incoming and outgoing expenses. There is a specific document that the CDD has created related to finance in programs. You should refer to that document, so that you can understand exactly how this is to be done. Another important seva of the management committee: take feedback from the congregation and the subcommittees who are doing various services. And whatever feedback is coming, rather than getting defensive or getting aggressive, that you don't understand, it is beautiful if the management committee takes that feedback and seriously contemplates about whether this feedback, how it is applicable to us, what way we could implement it, by when we could implement it, who will implement it, and so on and so forth. Promptly, if we can make changes. See, there's one thing to ask feedback, but if you get feedback and you don't implement it, there is no use to that. So therefore, it's very important that along with receiving feedback, the management committee actually works to ensure that they are implementing that feedback as well. And last but not the least, the management committee should ensure that the database of devotees who are attending the satsang is up to date. They should have their own database, because they need to know that who are the people who are attending our program, who came, who didn't come, and keep sharing this with the local CDD as well. So this is what the management committee of the program is supposed to do. Next, the management committee also should recommend new devotees to be added. Now, for example, if there are devotees who are coming for the program regularly, the cultivator is cultivating those devotees, and they have, started chanting 4 rounds, and they are showing a desire to get further deeper into Krishna consciousness. So the management committee should be recommending new devotees to be added to the mentor system if they meet the criteria for mentees. For any resources that the management committee would have some resource, some limited resources. So where they are getting stuck, either they're not getting volunteers, they are not getting preachers, they are not getting something, they can reach out to the local CDD, and the local CDD will facilitate, will ensure that whatever resources are needed, the management committee could contact them. And of course, the management committee should remain in touch with the local CDD for giving them feedback and seeking various suggestions. So this is about the management committee. Okay, the next very important contributor in this congregational development piece is the cultivator, right? So I already touched upon the cultivator, but let's talk about it as well. So the cultivator, as I said, this is a person who is appointed by the preacher, because as I said, preacher cannot reach out to everybody, every member of the congregation. It is physically impossible and not even recommended that the preacher kind of stays in touch with everybody. So the preacher appoints cultivators who are devotees, who have a good nature, who understand, who are themselves having some understanding of Krishna consciousness. They are not mixed up in their philosophy. So this person, cultivator, plays the role of cultivating the new devotees who are coming to the program till they get connected to the devotee care system. So let's talk about what are the services of the cultivator. The cultivator assists the preacher in inspiring the newcomers, the new devotees who are coming, to keep coming back regularly for the program. This is the key thing, that someone who came for the first time, very often, maybe 70-80% of them just drop off straight away. Maybe even 90% of them drop off if no one follows up. So their service is to ensure that those who came once keep coming back. Obviously, there will be some people who will drop out no matter how much you try. But our service is to ensure that they don't drop out because nobody followed up, right? So the first service is whenever newcomers come, the cultivator greets them, guides them, sit down here, do this, so on and so forth. he or she interacts with the newcomers immediately after the program. Like when a devotee, when a no, when a guest comes to a satsang program for the first time, very very first time, it is actually a very unique experience for them, because it is very very unlikely that they have ever come in touch with such a lucid and very practical explanation of the whole philosophy of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, Shrimad Bhagavatam. They have never heard anything like this. Someone quoting verses, so many analogies, so many examples, so many stories. It is a wonderful experience. Coupled with the kirtan, along with kartals and mritangas, and sometimes people play harmonium. It's like a wonderful, experience that completely shakes them up. So immediately after the program is over, those devotees are in a highly excited state. They're in a very, very inspired state. So that is the point where the cultivator should immediately catch them, capture their experience, ask them, how was your experience? What did it feel like? Take their contact, ask them, would you like to attend this program again? If you have caught them immediately after the program, it is quite likely that they will say, yeah, 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 it was a wonderful experience. And, they commit that, yeah, I would like to come again. So then we can take their contact details, we can add them to our WhatsApp group or whatever, right? Over a period of time, now one thing is that they, when they came to a program for the first time, the cultivator immediately connects with them, tries to get their experience and so on. Post this, the cultivator should maintain a very gentle contact with them. Remember, the operative important word here is gentle. It has to be very gentle, and a little light follow up with them, that before the next, so after the program is over, add them to the group, welcome them to the group. After that, before the next program, the day before, send them a gentle reminder. Maybe call them up also and say that, hey, you remember we had met in the program, you had liked the program, you remember? He said, yeah, 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 I remember. I said, would you like to come? Tomorrow's the next program again. Remind them, very gentle reminders, right? Not pushy, not making them feel that somebody's really pushing. Encourage them to attend the program. If they attend, immediately when they come the second time, again go meet them and say, hey, wonderful that you could make it again. Make them feel special, make them feel welcomed, make them feel happy, that we are happy because they came again. Give them that feeling. That's what a cultivator is supposed to do. Cultivator can also introduce them to preachers, other devotees who are like-minded. So for example, if somebody, a new guest who's come, is a doctor, and we already have another doctor in the congregation, introduce them that, hey, this is another doctor, this is doctor, this is a Mataji, Prabhuji, who is a doctor, whatever, right? Introduce them. If there is someone from their community, so if there is a Bengali person and there are other Bengalis, introduce them to the Bengalis. If there's a Telugu speaking person, introduce them to a Telugu speaking. So that also creates a sense of bonding. People feel like coming back for the program. So this, introducing them to preachers is also very important, because sometimes people are very overawed, by the preacher. First time they attend a lecture, they're like, wow, what is this? This is amazing. So introducing them to a preacher is a very nice and simple thing. It makes them feel very, very special to meet a person, who's preaching like this. It makes them feel very special. So introduce them to the preacher. Then it is important. We spoke about maintaining a database of the newcomers, right, and devotees. So this is done by the cultivator. Maintain the database and maintain a gentle follow up with those devotees. If those devotees ask any questions, right, any basic questions they're asking, the cultivator should be able to answer those philosophical doubts, a few practical hints and whatever. They should be able to answer, because for everything we can't tell them, ask the preacher, ask the preacher, ask the preacher. The cultivator should know the philosophy and answer basic questions on a one-to-one basis. When they see commitment, okay, as they see, you should not do it too early. When the cultivator sees commitment amongst the new devotees who are coming for the program, at the appropriate time, how do you see commitment? That A, they're regularly attending, they start asking a few sincere questions, they express a desire to serve. So when a cultivator sees that, that is the appropriate time to slowly start introducing them to chanting, to Srila Prabhupada's books, encourage them to join, the journey of self-discovery whenever it is happening in your program or in the temple, like that. At the appropriate time, we introduce them to these things. You do it too early, those people are going to get, bewildered. And when those devotees, new devotees come to the point of chanting 4 rounds, that is when we introduce them to the devotee care system, introduce them to a mentor. Of course, you could introduce them to a mentor much earlier also, that these are the senior devotees who are coming to our program. You could introduce them very early, but only when they come to the point of chanting 4 rounds, that is when we introduce them to the to the mentor system. So that is the service of a cultivator. So that covers, in essence, the congregational development part, or the constituents of which are the local CDD, the preacher, the management committee, and the cultivator. As you can see, they all work in concert. They all work together in coordination with only one objective: expand the teaching and nourish those who are coming for the program, add more devotees, and nourish those devotees who are coming. So that's what is the congregational development part of the CDD. Now we are going to talk about the second part. The second part, as I said, is related to the the devotee care. Now, many of you may be aware of the counsely system created by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj more than 30 years ago, where there were very senior devotees. See, as someone starts, practicing bhakti, they often face a lot of challenges. If you're just coming for a program and you're going back, it's not very difficult. It is, people are able to manage that. They're attracted, they come, they go back, and they don't practice anything. They're able to manage that fairly well. But when they come to the point where they start practicing bhakti, they start chanting, they start giving up things, that's when the challenges come and hit them a lot. So the devotees were therefore introduced to this counselor, devotee care or counselor system of Radha Gopinath temple, wherein very senior devotees, very experienced devotees would share, what is their experience in practicing bhakti, how they surmounted, how they faced the challenges that they were getting in their bhakti, how did they address those challenges, how did they move forward beyond those obstacles. That is what the counselor is supposed to do. However, the gap was that counselor system had devotees who are chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles. And sometimes devotees who are rank newcomers, who didn't have much experience, who didn't have much understanding of the philosophy, they were also becoming part of this counselor system. And they were not able to relate. They were finding it very difficult to relate what was being discussed there, because in the counselor system, the counselor is dealing with devotees who've already, been through bhakti for several years. Some have been in the movement for 15, 20 years. So obviously the topics that are covered by the counselor are fairly, mature topics. So there was a struggle that the devotees would face when they joined the counselor system. Hence, this mentor system was created as a kind of a bridge between the satsanga and the counselor system. So it is devotee care, but it is not the counselor system. It is different. The mentor system was created as a kind of a bridge between the satsang, the devotee who's coming for a satsang program, who is committing, who is starting to chant, but is not yet ready to become part of a counseling system where you're expected to chant 16 rounds. So this mentor system was created specifically for those devotees who are started chanting, who need some very, very systematic training in their initial years in Krishna consciousness. So this mentor system is a system wherein a mentor, who's again a fairly senior devotee who's been in the movement for 5 to 10 years at least, is hopefully initiated, is following the principles very sincerely. That mentor is given a specific syllabus. So the CDD, core CDD has created a syllabus that the mentor can use to run his or her mentee meetings. So, those meetings that they hold, the entire syllabus for those mentee meetings has been provided by the core CDD. So in this syllabus, there are, it's like spread out over 48 to 52 sessions where systematically the mentee is taken through understanding of what is ISKCON, who is Srila Prabhupada, who are our acharyas, what are the principal tenets of our philosophy, practically what, how do they apply this philosophy in their day-to-day lives. And if they're having any challenges in their bhakti as they are starting to follow it, the mentor and his wife will typically help them to address those challenges, will give them guidance, practical guidance on how they can address those challenges. So that's what this mentor system was. It is a bridge, as I said, connecting between the satsanga and the counselor system, but it is for 2 years. It is for a fixed period of 2 years, and in this 2 years the mentee is taken through a systematic training. At the end of those 2 years, if that mentee is willing to commit to chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, following the 4 regulative principles, then they are added to the counselor system. Otherwise, they are just taken out of the mentor system and added back to the satsang. They can continue there. Whenever they are ready to commit to that 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles, again, they will be added to the counselor system. So this, in essence, is the mentor system. Now, who are the components? Who are the people who are acting as the constituents of the mentor system? So let's go through that one by one. So as I said, the first one is the servant leader, right? The servant leader is the person who owns the mentor system. While the overall mentor system is owned by the CDD, the core CDD, but at the local level, in a particular zone, amongst the 8 zones that I mentioned, in that zone, the owner of the mentor system, the devotee care at the program level, is the servant leader. So he has overall accountability and ownership of the mentor system in that zone. Now the way we have done it is we have identified at least 2 or 3 servant leaders for each zone. So if one is not able to do their service, the other two can step up and do that service. So what is it that the servant leader is supposed to do? The servant leader, because the servant leader has been a preacher, has been a counselor for many years, understands devotee care very deeply, has rich experience in devotee care. His service is to inspire the mentor in their ongoing service, because the mentor also, when they take up this service of devotee care, there's a tendency for them to get overwhelmed as well. So therefore, the mentor also needs someone to train them, and that's the service of the servant leader. The servant leader trains the mentor on various aspects of devotee care, the right attitude as a Vaishnava leader. Otherwise, as a Vaishnava leader, if you are getting new devotees who have just started chanting and the mentor starts controlling them, immediately those devotees will start kind of leaving the movement. So it is very important for them to understand that how do you serve these devotees? What is the best way to do it? How do you serve them to keep on increasing their commitment in Krishna consciousness without feeling as though someone's pushing them? How do you inspire them? So because the servant leader is a senior counselor typically, or a senior brahmachari, they have that visibility of how to do this. So they train the mentors. They should be ensuring that there is at least once a month meeting, with the servant coordinators and mentors in the zone. So all the mentors in the zone come together once in a month with the servant leader to interact. And reporting of those meetings needs to happen by the servant coordinators in the prescribed format to the core CDD. Now, it is a servant leader's responsibility to ensure that the servant coordinator who's working with them is actually reporting, sending the reports to the core CDD. So it is a servant leader's responsibility. They should be also conducting, kind of quarterly meeting with the servant coordinators. Once in 3 months, they should be meeting with the servant coordinators to just gauge, to check, is the mentor system in the zone, is it alive? Are meetings happening? Are mentors conducting meetings? Are the number of mentees entering that mentor system increasing? Are a good number of people who have completed their mentoring over a 2-year period, a good number are joining the counselor system? So this, needs to be monitored. This needs to be checked. So the servant leader has to do this. If there are any kind of conflicts that come in the mentor system, then the servant leader should be the first port of call, the first person who gets approached to resolve those conflicts. So they should assist in resolving any conflicts that come up in the mentor system, and also report to the CDD core about these conflicts, right? And also the servant leader, because the servant leaders have visibility of what is happening in a particular zone. Across the zone, they have that visibility. Therefore, it is very important that they take that feedback, whatever they are seeing, and give suggestions to the CDD core, based on the needs of the mentors, needs of the servant coordinators, the mentees, the preachers. If they are seeing that there is a need and something that is unaddressed, there's a gap, there's a hole in the system, they should report it to the CDD core, so the CDD core can then work on, plugging those gaps, solving those problems. So this is the very, very critical role of the servant leader, who's the overall owner of the mentor system in a given zone. Now let's look at what is the service of the servant coordinator. Now, servant coordinator again plays a very critical role, operational role, to ensure that the mentor system is running smoothly. First of all, the servant coordinator has to ensure that there is a monthly regional mentor meeting, right? I mean, there are 3 servant leaders, as I said. So whoever is available, the servant coordinator is to ensure that there's a monthly RMM, regional mentor meeting, happening with the servant leaders. They should be giving an assessment, to the mentors of the region. We said the SL should be conducting quarterly meetings, right? So they should be giving an assessment to the mentors of all the assessment of all the mentors in their region, to the core CDD in the prescribed format. There's a format that has been provided. The servant coordinator has to provide that report. They should also, because those devotees who are mentees at some point of time are going to become counselees. So they should be aware, the servant coordinator should be aware who are the counselors in their zone, how many counselees they have, what language they conduct their programs in, what is the location of their programs, their meetings, so that, whenever mentees complete their 2-year training, they are connected to the appropriate counselor, where the language is similar, or the location is convenient. So these are things that the servant coordinator is supposed to ensure it happens. So it's like a smooth system. Someone who is in the mentee system, the servant coordinator should be observing that how many are going to come out, where will they be connected, which counselor will they be connected. So this is what the servant coordinator is supposed to check. They should have also a list of all the cultivators in their zone, because as we said, a few of these cultivators will probably meet the criteria for being given the service of a mentor. So the servant coordinators should have visibility of that. They should be seeing who are the cultivators, who are the ones who have those, those qualities of being, a mentor as well. Then similarly, when a person is supposed to be connected to the mentor system, right? So the servant, so for example, if the management committee is recommending that XY so and so devotee is supposed to become a mentee, should be part of the mentee system. So there's an allotment committee, that to which mentor will this devotee be allotted, right? And thereafter to the counselor system. So both are different allotment committees. So the servant coordinator plays an important role of ensuring that those devotees are allotted to an appropriate mentor and post that to an appropriate counselor. In case any fresh candidate, is there who's joined a program, maybe coming from some other program, or maybe who is already chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles for many, many years, but is in a different location, has come. So then, directly maybe they can be allotted to the consular system as well. So also, at the end of 2 years, the qualified mentee is getting connected to the consular system. This is the responsibility of the servant coordinator, because the mentor may or may not speak to the servant coordinator, but the servant coordinator has to definitely ensure that those are being connected. Again, if there are issues, there are conflicts that come up, they have to facilitate the resolution of those conflicts which are raised by mentees or mentors, by taking the help of the servant leader. We already discussed how the servant leader has to help. And if the issue which is raised is very complex and involves many, many devotees, then probably the issue could be referred to the resolve team of the CDD. And finally, maybe they could also try to facilitate a small annual yatra for all the mentors in the zone along with their mentees, because it creates a very beautiful bond. If because if a mentor has got maybe 7 or 8 or 10 mentees, those mentees, while they feel sheltered certainly, but seeing that they're part of a much larger ecosystem of hundreds of devotees in just one zone, it is a very powerful experience. So a servant coordinator could serve there as well. So we spoke about the servant leader, we spoke about the servant coordinator, and then of course we come to the mentor himself and herself. So mentor is, while it is one word, it refers to the mentor and his wife, or the mentor and her husband both, right? So their service is to systematically train mentees, the bhaktas who are coming into the congregational program, who have taken some initiative to start chanting, have read a few books, small books of Srila Prabhupada, or have attended JOST and are chanting at least 4 rounds, right? So the service of the mentor, it's a very critical role, right? The mentor actually has to take that devotee who is just started chanting 4 rounds through a journey of 2 years and inspire them to come to the point where they are chanting 16 rounds, they are committed to Srila Prabhupada's movement, and are following 4 regulative principles. It is not an easy thing. It's a very, very important service that the mentor plays. And, taking these new devotees and bringing them up to a point where they're committed to the movement of Srila Prabhupada. So this is the service of the mentor. So how does the mentor do this? First of all, by conducting weekly meetings. I already mentioned that specific, content has already been provided in English. It has also been translated to Hindi. So the content, the mentor doesn't need to worry about content. Content is being provided by the CDD. Their service is to conduct a mentee meeting every week, right? They should implement whatever rules, guidelines, policies which may come from the temple from time to time in their group. They should implement. They should obviously maintain, database of their group. See that their names are updated on the database of Radha Gopinath temple. That is also very important. Their name has to be there. They serve as the liaison between the temple authorities and their mentees, because mentees may or may not be connected to Radha Gopinath temple. They may be in a very far away place, but the mentors are the liaison between the temple, what the temple is asking for, and their mentees. I already mentioned that they should be submitting reports of their weekly meetings, what activities they did in that meeting, how much attendance they are seeing. They should be giving this to the servant coordinator, servant leaders regularly. They should be attending. I said the SL, the servant leader, will be conducting a regional mentor meeting every month. So they are expected to attend that monthly meeting, because unless they do that, if they also see other mentors, the same way, like you said, mentees get enthused when they see other mentees. The mentors also get enthused when they see other mentors who are performing the same service. They get an opportunity to ask questions, what challenges they are facing. Oh, this is not working out, that is not working out. They can share their challenges with the with the servant leaders, and the other mentors who are probably more experienced can also share that how they address those challenges, right? So attending the regular, attending this regional mentor meeting regularly is very, very important. Also, as I said, they can recommend their mentees for participation in the annual yatras, in the drama festivals, any other temple events, services, and so on and so forth, right? As per the eligibility criteria that have been set by the temple management. So they can recommend their mentees for for yatras or for dramas and so on and so forth. Over and above this, they, at some point of time, we have already said that they should recommend to the servant coordinator that these, out of my mentees, these ones are kind of meeting the criteria now for becoming counsellors. They are chanting 16 rounds. The syllabus has been completed, and they are following 4 regulative principles. We should now graduate them to the counseling system, to the devotee care, the second part of the devotee care system. And if someone needs to be removed, if there's somebody who clearly is irregular in programs, is not really committing to the process of bhakti, or is a disturbance to the rest of the members, the mentor could also recommend removal of a devotee from the mentor system. And one last but not the least, one very important aspect is the mentor should also be attending the program. So it's not that the mentor is running independent of anything. The mentor has to be connected to the preacher and the management committee of a particular program, because only then they will recommend someone to join your mentee group. If you are not connected at all with any program, and you expect the preachers and management committee, who with their blood and sweat and toil have created a fresh bhakta, will just give you a mentee to become part of your program, that's never going to happen. So you should be part of a regular satsang program. You should be attending that regular satsang program. Then someone will have the confidence to give you mentees, and even those mentees will be comfortable to join your group, because they have seen you in the program, they have seen your behavior, they have seen how you are regular, they have seen you modeling Vaishnav behavior. Then they feel inspired to join your mentee meeting. So this is what the mentor is supposed to do. And this is a completion of the the whole system. We started with the core CDD, we spoke about the local CDD, we spoke about the preacher, the management committee, and the cultivator, which culminates in a bhakta. And then that bhakta, when he or she starts chanting 4 rounds and showing some commitment to the movement, that point the servant coordinator and the management committee kind of add them to the mentor system. In the mentor system, we discuss the role of the mentor, we discuss the role of the servant coordinator, we discuss the role of the servant leader. The servant leader is the overall owner of the system. The servant coordinator is ensuring that all the operations on the ground are happening properly. And the mentor does the service of ensuring that that bhakta who becomes their mentee matures, takes them through a 2-year program, systematically trains them on different facets of Krishna consciousness, so that over a 2-year period, they become committed enough to start chanting 16 rounds. They start, following the 4 regulative principles, and they are fully committed members of the ISKCON movement. They're committed to the movement of Srila Prabhupada. So this, in essence, is an understanding of the different constituents of the core CDD and its connected parts. I hope you found this useful. Please do reach out to us on cdd.rgm@gmail.com if you need clarifications on any of this. This video obviously will will be put up, but if you have questions, please do reach out to us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.